Company of Heroes 3 is a failed experiment, but a great game. This is a beast of a game, cramming in 2 campaigns and 4 factions. Its proportions are fitting for this devastatingly massive conflict. The main course, ostensibly, is the Italian dynamic campaign, promising something akin to a World War II total war. It's a huge turn-based campaign that serves up a slew of spectacular, tactically interesting RTS battles that, on paper, should be the most interesting thing Relic has ever done. Lamentably, however, this is not the case, as it's ironically not even remotely dynamic. As an RTS, Company of Heroes 3 is right up there with the very best, but Relic's experimental campaign is tragically a bit of a dud. Across my nearly 40-hour march to Rome, I encountered hardly any resistance at all. The only time my adversary attempted to take back a town I'd captured, it was a scripted event. Regardless of the difficulty settings, aggression is a foreign concept to them. If one of your companies encounters an enemy company, they'll probably try to attack you after you finished your turn, so they are at least willing to defend their territory, but they never go beyond that. The Italian campaign, then, is fundamentally broken. This is especially frustrating when it's clear how great it could have been, and even in this seemingly unfinished state, good ideas bubble to the surface if you can push past the very rough UI and impotent opponent. Each company you requisition is a powerful toolkit with a range of units and abilities. The game also makes the layers of all of these tools you have at your disposal approachable and logical, and it maintains a cohesive feel between all the layers of this campaign that even the king of the hybrid genre, Total War, hasn't perfected. Less elegant are this campaign's progression systems. You'll gain skill points that must be spent on 3 distinct systems, but there's too much to comfortably prioritize, and they just don't fit together well, even visually. The UI for each is completely different, as is the order in which you unlock things. It feels like dabbling in something that's still in the concept phase. So the Italian campaign is not the slam dunk I was hoping for, but I find myself less disappointed than expected. I was anticipating something grand, something evocative of Total War, and it doesn't remotely live up to this. But what it does is spit out incredible fight after incredible fight. Here in the RTS layer, we see real dynamism, and it even gives a glimmer of dynamism to the campaign map, where bombing the shit out of a location before you head into battle transforms it, hitting the ground and destroying buildings, which can have a dramatic effect on the ensuing fight. Each of the main missions is pure magic, even the overly ambitious final assault on the Winter Line. But between these big missions are countless random skirmishes, and given the length of the campaign, I was worried they might start to get a bit stale. That didn't prove to be the case, not just because the skirmish maps and objectives are numerous, but because each type of company has a completely different playstyle and different toys to play with, keeping things exciting even 40 hours in. The much brisker North African campaign is Company of Heroes at its most traditional, a linear series of 8 missions that is narratively weird, attempting to balance the discomfort as playing as the historical villains by trying to tell less well-known stories. This attempt at giving the oppressed a voice and even using their language is a welcome one, but it feels awkwardly stitched together and is, ultimately, telling us stories about people that only exist in mostly static cutscenes. While the campaign's storytelling lacks impact, the missions themselves are pleasantly diverse, going from huge multi-phase confrontations with offensive and defensive portions to smaller, focused scenarios where you're setting up traps for convoys. Together, the 2 campaigns give you plenty of battles, but the multiplayer and skirmish modes extend that even further, letting you fight other players or go on a good old-fashioned comp stomp as one of the 4 factions. This quartet can then be further specialized in-game by picking specific battle group upgrade paths that reflect the companies of the campaigns. The campaign AI, at least in the RTS layer, is serviceable if conservative, so it's really in the multiplayer where the depths of Company of Heroes 3's strategy is truly revealed, and its most exciting confrontations. 14 maps are already in play, and mod support means we should see more appear courtesy of the community after launch. I expect to spend a lot of time here now that I've finished my tour of duty in the campaigns. Company of Heroes 3 is a hard game to render a verdict on. Patches may improve the Italian campaign, but right now it's hard to look at it as anything other than a failure. Yet I've had weeks of fun with the RTS, and I can't wait to keep playing as more players enter the battlefield at launch. It's a flawed experiment that has nonetheless provided me with real-time brawls that I simply can't get enough of. I love it. If you're willing to accept the campaign as just a vehicle for fantastic battles, I think you might love it too.